What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Tribaholics. It's our second one with our new co-host tonight, not our other co-host, Christian. He has a prior work obligation that, he has to abide to, so he's not able to make it tonight. He's hopefully going to be able to get out of that here shortly, so he's going to be able to be with us every single night that we go on here for Tribaholics. But Ben, my brother, how are you doing tonight? And we'll just go ahead and ask you, man, what are you sipping on? If you're listening, let us know what you're sipping on. Ben, how you doing, brother? And what are you sipping on?
Doing pretty good. Didn't really do anything today. Slept too much, so I'm a little tired. But I'm sipping on this little Bacardi Anejo Quattro. Expensive. It's pretty good. I like it. Mix it with a little Dr Pepper Zero. Got to watch the calories while I fuck up my liver.
Yeah, good shit. You're nice and young. You know, your liver's still probably semi healthy compared to mine. So it's good stuff. Bacardi probably a little bit better than the Sailor Jerry's you were drinking last week.
I don't taste much difference. I haven't really acquired the rum taste yet. I'm just trying new things, but I think this one's a little smoother.
Good, man. I'm glad you're enjoying it. For me, I'm drinking on some Cacti seltzers. Give a little Travis Scott shout out here on the air. Cacti seltzers. Good stuff, 7%, so a little bit higher than your regular seltzers. Good stuff, guys. Try them out. They're pretty much shit, compared to what everybody else has to say. Everybody hates them. But when something's $9.99 at the store for 9 of them, can't really say no to that. Cheap seltzers that are high alcohol percentage, you gotta boost it up there. And after I went hard last week with a nice IPA, had to kind of bring it back to my salary cap a little bit, so it was good.
It's only $9.99. They used to be a lot more expensive.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's game week, brother. Just before we get into all the news and shit that's been going on, how fucking pumped are you to get going here? First game of the week against Notre Dame, top 10 team in the nation. How pumped are you? I know you're heading to Tallahassee. I unfortunately fucked up big time in my scheduling, and I'm not able to make it there. But how pumped are you, brother, to head down there to Tallahassee since you're in Auburn?
Oh, I'm super excited. I didn't get to go last year because we were pretty shit. So I'm not going in a COVID year when we're gonna lose every game. But I'm back. I think maybe a decent chance. I'm not really expecting to win, but I'm just glad to get back in action to a packed Doak and have a good time and enjoy the game with my friends and family.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be an awesome atmosphere. I know we're getting close to being sold out. Somewhere between 85,000 is what I'm expecting. It's gonna be an electric atmosphere against the top 10 team in the nation. But again, guys, if you're just now tuning in, let us know what you're sipping on in the comments. Great stuff. I know Broomy1 always pops in here. Let us know what he's sipping on. More already popping in. Ben, to be honest, how fucked up are you gonna get? So answer that question really quick before we get ahead and keep going on.
Well, I'm gonna be with my parents, so I am of legal age now. So mildly fucked up, but not like where they're like embarrassed of me after the game. Have to look somewhat good, but I'd like to get pretty intoxicated. That's the goal.
Absolutely, and we expect you to. Nonetheless, you're supposed to be. You're playing a top 10 team at Doak on a night game, the only night game of the day, only game of the day in college football. So it's very exciting that's what's going to be happening. Ben B coming in here saying he's going to be sipping on a Screwball. Not necessarily sure what the hell that is. I don't know if that's one of your boys, Ben, or not, but whatever a Screwball is. Inform me because I'm clueless on what that is.
It's just like a little peanut butter whiskey. It's pretty good. He enjoys putting it with we'll go to Moe's barbecue and get some bushwhackers and he'll top it off with that. I'm like, good for you. I'm not paying $10 for a drink.
Sounds good though.
Budweiser and be on with my day.
I've had a few peanut butter shots in my day and those are pretty good. So I would expect it to taste something similar to that. But we'll go ahead and jump into some Florida State news here. And first, right off the bat, we'll talk about Jameis Winston going on and winning that Saints quarterback competition between himself and Taysom Hill. Are you surprised by this at all, or are you expecting this to happen? Or what were your overall thoughts, honestly?
I shouldn't be surprised, but I am, just because I didn't think Sean Payton would actually make the commitment, because I'm pretty sure he's got a little thing for Taysom on the side or something. They have it's a weird relationship. Taysom's not talented. He's not good. Jameis, he can see now he was making better throws. I'm pretty sure every aspect of the game of football, Jameis is better at. Like, even though Taysom's a tight end, I'm pretty sure Jameis would be a better tight end than Taysom. Taysom is just not good at the sport. So this was kind of like, if you want to win, you're going to start Jameis. If you want to like make a couple fans happy, you're going to start Taysom. And he obviously made the right choice. It's a business. He wants to win. He started the better quarterback.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I don't even know why this was a quarterback competition to begin with. I think Jameis is overall the better quarterback in this situation. Yeah, Taysom brings a lot of different, things to the offense. But what happens when you put him at quarterback and then a team can lock in on what he's able to do? You no longer have your Swiss Army knife, if you will, if you're the Saints, to be able to do all these different things on the offensive side of the ball. Jameis just had his year underneath Drew Brees as a more quarterback type of football player than so Taysom Hill, even though Taysom Hill has had years underneath Drew Brees as well. But Jameis knows how to play the quarterback position, was coached by a quarterback coach in Jimbo Fisher, knows what it takes. And after seeing Drew Brees point at Jameis and tell him that it was his team last year in his last game, I didn't think there should have been any question. I don't even know why there was so much hype coming into it. I'm happy for Jameis. I'm glad he's getting a second chance, and I think he's going to do great things with the Saints. The only problem I think that might arise is what type of talent he has around him other than AK-47.
I don't know. I was actually about to touch on AK-47. Fantasy owners should be happy. They should be getting a little more volume, a little more dump offs anyway with Taysom. But aside from Kamara, with Michael Thomas out, I don't really think there's much talent at wide receiver. I think Marquez Callaway is going to be a breakout this year. I've got him in a lot of my fantasy leagues. I think he's going to do really well, but good deep threat, so he's definitely improved on that. But as long as the O-line's average, he'll find ways to make plays. Like, that's what he did in college, and that's what he did in his time in the NFL when he wasn't throwing interceptions. He makes plays with less sometimes, So I don't think it's much of an issue, but I do think it's not like he has DeAndre Hopkins and like Kyler Murray has a bunch of weapons on his offense. He doesn't have that type of weaponry, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Right, and I think it just came out that they're putting Michael Thomas on the PUP list, so that puts him out at least 6 weeks. So that'll be very interesting to see what Jameis does with the weapons that he does have around him. But I'm super excited for him. Glad he's getting that second chance, like I mentioned before. He deserves it, and as long as he cuts back on those turnovers, I think he's going to be, a decent quarterback. And I think under the tutelage of Sean Payton there as his head coach in New Orleans, he's going to be able to be a very, very good quarterback in the league.
Yeah, that was the one thing I really liked. How he took a year off to humble himself. He didn't like get mad he wasn't starting. He's like, all right, I need to refocus, reset. He took like a $1 million a year deal, and then he went back, learned under one of the better quarterbacks of all time, learned under Sean Payton, and it looks like it's starting to pay off for him. So I'm excited for him.
Yeah, it's about damn time. Who's going to win the Heisman? Why is it Zach Evans? So quick question here for you, Ben. And I'm not sure why Zach Evans' name is thrown in there, but you might know.
That's one of my boys. He's a TCU fan. He always likes to hype them up before they go 7-5 each year. Kind of similar to what I do with Florida State.
Right.
Hype up and do bad, but if I'm going Heisman, everyone wants to say Spencer Rattler. I'm a Bryce Young truther. I think he's going to win it. I think Bama's going to go back to back with the Heismans.
That Heisman talk we'll get into probably a little bit later down the road, but just a little something here that's going on right now. Someone coming in here saying BYU is mid. Absolutely, they're mid now that Zach Wilson's not there. But let's get into the depth of our conversation, which is going to be a lot about Florida State here. And to begin, there's the beginning of the week. I think just yesterday, actually, the depth chart was shown by Florida State University of what we're looking at here. And we're going to go over that depth chart, and then we're going to go over our breakout players. So, Ben, we're going to bring it up for you guys here in the share screen right here. Ben, go ahead and walk us through a little bit here of the offensive side of the ball.
First thing I really noticed is I know it says or, but usually when in quarterback battle, the guy that's listed first, I usually like to think that he's the front runner for the starting job. So it looks like there's a pretty strong gut feeling, just I guess what's the word? Not implication, just I guess inference that Jordan Travis is going to be the guy to take the lead, roll out for Notre Dame first drive. Nothing new with Corbin starting. Toa Philly also up there, going to be really good. I like Trayshawn Ward as RB2. He's I think he's gonna be a quick little change of pace back. Nothing special, but I think he's got some talent up there. Wide receiver, it's about what you expected. You got Helton, Wilson, and Parchment. Really looking forward to Helton and Parchment this year. Wilson's going to do well as always. I'm really excited to see McLean as wide receiver 2 under Parchment. Freshman coming in. I think he's going to have a really big impact. Just, not even change of pace, just he's going to get a decent amount of reps, and they're going to continue to increase as the season goes along. I think he's a sleeper for or not even a sleeper. I think he's going to be our best wide receiver next year for sure.
Okay, cool. And going back to that quarterback thing, I think it speaks volumes too, because we've always paid hell of attention to what happens there with those oars when it comes to our depth charts here at Florida State, because it's always a big thing. And do you think it has anything to do with McKenzie Milton missing the past 10 to 12 days or so of practice?
Absolutely. I mean, there's really no other way to describe it. McKenzie Milton, obviously, he's got the talent to compete for the job, but you're not going to be able to miss like the past 10 or 11 practices leading up to game week. You're going to be rusty. You're not going to be as in sync with the offense. Those reps and that experience, especially the fact that he hasn't played in was it 1 year or 2 years?
2 years.
Yeah, he hasn't played in 2 years, so he's not able to practice leading up to game week. I think that's a really big factor too. And then Jordan, just the continuity with the offense and just continuing to build that chemistry, while Milton hasn't been able to. He had to take those little breaks in between with his foot and other issues. So I think that's definitely playing a huge factor.
I think it definitely should play a huge factor into it as well. But do you think we just throw Milton out there for the first snap of the game and then just bring him back out just for the hell of it? Do you think that's a possibility at all?
What do you mean by that? Just throw him out for a couple drives and then?
Well, not even a couple drives, just for the first snap of the game. Just get him back into the rhythm. Not even a rhythm, honestly, but just into the feel of a college football game.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I think we're going to have a Jordan Travis scripted drive for the first drive, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Travis and Milton and just kind of rotate a couple drives at first to see who's giving the offense a better flow and roll with the guy who's playing the best. We kind of see us do that when we didn't with Blackman last year versus JSU. He was struggling, so we put in Tate, awful. Put in Chubba, didn't do great. Put in Travis, and offense started clicking, and we just kept rolling with him. So it really wouldn't surprise me to see anything happen like that at all.
Right, and it's interesting here because last year, I think on the depth chart, when it comes to the running back position, we just saw all 4 guys listed, right? It was or, blah, blah, blah. Didn't really know. Now we've got them split here into running backs and tailbacks. So do you think we're going to be seeing a lot of 2 running back formations when it comes to Jashawn Corbin, Lawrence Toafili, or Trayshawn Ward, Baby 9 as well?
I hadn't really thought about it like that. I just kind of see it as you got RB1, you got tailback 1. I think it's going to be a 1-2 punch. It's kind of a little bit of a committee looking at that, and then just certain situations. There's definitely going to be times when you're going to have a 2 running back set, but I think it's more of just a 1-2 punch and the situation. 3rd and long, you're probably going to go with Toafili. If you need him out there, he's probably a little quicker. First and goal, you're going to go Corbin. He's the big back. He's the guy. I mean, you see the weight difference. He's both 6 foot, and you got about 40 pounds on him. I mean, yeah, obviously. But, yeah, I don't really see us running much of a 2 running back set. I feel like that was more of a Cam Akers thing, more of a Wildcat thing. When we had him, he was able to run and throw if we needed him to.
Yeah, definitely. And our boy from the Noel Game Day Discord, Thomas, coming in here and throwing it back to the quarterback conversation real quick. If FSU falls behind early, do we expect Milton to, come in and kind of take over those reins and try and see if he'll get comfortable?
I mean, really depends. If you're down 14-0, don't think so. If you go down 24, 28-0, absolutely. But if you're down 14-0, that's not an insurmountable lead. I don't think you want to go kill our quarterback's confidence after a rough couple of first drives in his first game back after a regular offseason, but it really just depends. It depends on how big the lead is, if he's missing easy throws, if he's visibly frustrated. If we're just getting unlucky, you stick with your starter, but I definitely don't see it as out of the realm of possibility just to bring Milton in if things get rough, which it kind of goes back to my point of, just drive by drive, see who starts the game better and whoever just roll with them going forward.
Yeah, I don't fully expect that to happen in the first place. I don't fully expect us to get down early, excuse me. We could go down early, but I expect us to respond at some point just because I feel like we're a lot more level-headed team, and instead of just being like, oh shit, we're down, we're going to lose this game, we're gonna come back and be able to, at least drive down the field, get some points on the board, whether that's a kick or a touchdown. But if that were the case, I wouldn't put it past Mike Norvell, because we've seen him do him in the past. Like you were saying with the JSU game, we had Chuba, and then as soon as Chuba started performing poorly and then got hurt or whatever, then we put in Tate, and then Tate didn't work out, and then we put in Jordan, even though he wasn't supposed to play because he was hurt. So I could totally see Mike Norvell doing that, because even though it's a very talented roster there in the quarterback room, you don't have a whole lot of trust in those guys besides the top two, and Jordan Travis and McKenzie Milton. And if one of those guys falters at some point, what is going to stop you from putting in the other, because you have trust in both of them? So I think the fact that you have trust in both of those guys at the top, two of them, and if one of them is not performing well or whatever, you can go ahead and throw the other one in there and see how he does. But the one thing I don't want to see when it comes to that is putting in a third guy. I don't want to see a third guy come in there. If a third guy comes in there, it's just not going to be good, which I don't think will happen. But I think Jordan will likely come out of that pack. He'll probably lead that team and be good to go for the Notre Dame game. So it'll be very, very fun to watch. But going back to the running back room, it's interesting, looking at that running back room. Jashawn Corbin, Treshaun Ward, and Lawrence Toafili, obviously your three-headed guys right there. And then DJ Williams coming in from Auburn is interesting as well. But he's pretty much your fourth guy right now, which is, shocking to me, because I expected him to kind of compete for maybe that two or three spot overall, especially even over Ja'Kai Douglas. So, but those guys, I think we've got a deep running back room. I just don't know what type of talent we have in that running back room. Do you have anything to say to that? Because I feel like they're very deep, but we don't necessarily have the talent besides maybe, Toa there, baby 9, if you will, being able to maybe make a big splash play.
Oh, yeah. I think I touched on this, not last week, but I was talking to I was just going to Twitter and tweeting out, but I've been saying that running back is our most talented position group. I really like Corbin. Corbin didn't impress me a ton last year, but that was more due to just a really bad offense. Yeah, camps are saying he's doing really good this year. Toafili has also got really good. Yeah, like Moore just said, I like Ward. Like, he just kind of popped out of nowhere. Like, he's got a lot of talent that no one really thinks about it, but he's got a lot of talent. Like, if you start with Ward, Toafili, or Corbin, you start one of those games with that in the backfield, I'm not concerned at all. All three of them are going to be able to make plays in their own special way. So you got a little three-headed back committee right there, especially. And then you have Ja'Kai Douglas, who some people don't like, some people don't think he's great, but he's just really quick, really fast. Quick change of pace, a lot of jet sweeps with him. Kind of like a Corey Wren, but on the running back line. So I think you have a lot of options with your running backs, and I think you have a lot of talent there as well.
I completely agree. I'm super pumped that Treshaun Ward has worked his way up into that rotation and going to be a solid piece in what we have going this year at the running back position. And then you talked about the wide receivers. Obviously, we knew Keyshawn was going to be there, Ontario Wilson as well, Pokey, if you will. And then the transfer, Andrew Parchment coming in. In my opinion, he's hot and cold. I don't really know what to expect from Andrew Parchment. I feel like someplace he takes off, someplace he just goes all out. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. But the big thing to me when looking at this wide receiver room is the guys we got behind both Pokey and Parchment there in Burrell and McClain. Both big, tall wide receivers, 6'2", 6'4", both right over 200 pounds respectively, both freshmen, both young guys, and both have made plays for us in the spring and in fall camp. So I'm excited to see what they're able to do once they slot into the position, give us a deep threat down the field, a guy who can go up and get the ball, which we haven't been able to say in quite some time. You might have been able to say Tamorion Terry was that guy, but he was never a go up and get it guy. He was more of a I'm just going to beat you deep guy. And you go back to maybe a KB, not necessarily didn't do it necessarily in the NFL, but he would go up and get it, for you when Jameis was here. So we haven't been able to say it for some time that we've had a big couple guys, even at that, to be able to go up and get it. So I'm pretty pumped about those two.
Yeah. You put you give me any of those five with Ontario, Joshua, Parchment, McClain, and Poiter. You give me any of those five out there. I need two of those five, and I'm feeling good about who's getting open, who's making plays, and who's going to be able to go up and get the ball. I have no worries with the wide receiver room either.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to see Dugans finally be able to get some talent in there that he's able to work with. A lot more deep than it was the prior couple of seasons for him. Looking at the tight end room real quick, Cameron McDonald. Obviously, we know what he brings to the table. Big fan of Cameron McDonald. Always seems to find an open area, seems to find the right spots. Always solid hands. Always a solid blocker as well. Just does his job the way he's supposed to. And then Jordan Wilson showing up there at the tight end position to transfer over from UCLA, coming in here to back him up. And there's an injury concern for him, but now he's showing up on the depth chart. Thoughts on the tight end position really quick before we get into the offensive line?
Oh yeah, it's Cameron McDonald's job. Jordan Wilson will be in there, just to block every now and then or a quick change of pace. But I don't think you're going to see much diversity at the tight end spot. McDonald's the go-to guy there. Good player, really good player. Like him a lot. Haven't seen enough of Jordan Wilson to comment on him, but I don't think he has much of a role this year at all.
Yeah, I still think he's coming off that injury, so there might be a little bit of room for him to wiggle around in. I don't know if there's a possibility for another red shirt. We'll see. It's just we're thin at that position. So seeing Jordan Wilson come up, I know West is kind of moving his way up into that third spot too as well. So that'll be good moving forward now that we got a few of those guys in. But let's move on to the position that you and I have probably been most, heavy on here as of recent, and that we actually like, and that's the offensive line. I'll let you take off with this one, buddy.
I don't know. I said on Twitter the other day, I said I'm finally going to say it. I think we have a good offensive line, and everyone points out it's like, well, you got three freshmen starting on the line. Well, all three of those freshmen have been starting games since 2018 because of COVID and the redshirt year, so they're not your typical freshmen. You've got size, you've got at least some talent. Finally, you got Dylan Gibbons coming in, who I think is going to be really good for us at left guard. And you also have the best offensive line coach in the country who's going to be able to keep developing you and coaching you up. So as long as we can stay healthy on that front and keep those, our best five out there, I'm really looking forward to it. We lose a couple guys, things start to go downhill a little bit. But otherwise, you stay healthy. We have a pretty decent O-line, which I haven't been able to say in like 8 years.
Yeah, I think I sent that in our group chat and everything, and I was I was like, it's the first time in a while that I felt pretty confident in our offensive line play, and that partially comes from our offensive line coach, who you just said you think is the best in the nation, and Alex Atkins, which he might be, and we're securing him down, locking him in because he is doing one hell of a job in building that offensive line. A lot of these guys who are backups have been here. They're understanding the game a little bit more. They're going to be the guys to take over at some point, hopefully, but that might not even happen. We have a very young offensive line outside of Gibbons, obviously the transfer from Notre Dame, and Devontae Love-Taylor, the transfer from FIU, who are going to be your solid guys. Other than that, you got redshirt freshmen across the board, but Darius Washington, Maurice Smith, and Robert Scott Jr. Have shown a little bit of promise, more so Maurice Smith and Darius Washington, more so than a Robert Scott. But seeing Robert Scott fill that position over Lloyd Willis there at the left tackle position, tells me that there's got to be a little bit of maturity and growth to his game for him to be able to start that. And that's been my real big bugging point, is if Robert Scott's going to be able to hold that position down. And it seems like he's going to be able to. Are you very confident in him being able to block either Travis or McKenzie's blindside?
Yeah. He's pretty good. I don't know too much about the O-line, to be honest, aside from the fact that they've been continuing to develop. But I definitely agree with you, taking that step forward. A lot of the O-line issues have been coming through maturity and just not being able to pick up assignments as well, and not wanting to get coached up. But if he's taking over that left tackle spot, it shows me that Mike wants to put out our best five for sure. So I think I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think the depth worries me a little bit. Like if one of these guys go down, how are we going to shuffle this around? But I'm sure Mike and the boys and Alex Atkins have been, moving around pieces, being able to find out what works best in case there are these certain scenarios that happen. So that'll be very interesting to see as the season prolongs. Hopefully all these guys can stay healthy. But, in the past it's been, nope, that doesn't happen. So we'll see what happens from there. We can go coming in here saying, give us playoff predictions. We'll give you guys playoff predictions here in a little bit after we do the Notre Dame preview, after we go through this depth chart. But let's continue on with that depth chart, buddy. And we're going to go over to the defensive side of the ball. And we're going to start out on the line here and looking at our defensive end and defensive line. What are your thoughts and what do you see?
It doesn't impress me a ton, to be honest. Really like Jermaine Johnson, but a lot of the other guys just like they haven't really shown out in the past couple of years. So it's more of an uncertainty to me. I think that's one of our weaker position groups. Some may disagree, but it's kind of the position group that I'm not like, aside from linebacker, I'm not out here looking like, wow, we're really going to be like, hard run stoppers, like, 2013 D-line. We're not going to have that. And I'm a little bit worried with our defensive line versus the Notre Dame tailback duo, which I think is the best in the country. So I love Jermaine Johnson, but aside from that, there's a lot to be proven and a lot to be determined. So I'm not going to gas him up or anything. I want to see it first.
See, I agree with you on a lot of those aspects in terms of wanting to see, it on film and see what it looks like in person. But the one thing I do get out of this is we've got depth there. You look at guys like Joshua Farmer, third down on the depth chart. You've got Malcolm Ray, third down on the depth chart. You've got Derek McClendon, the second down, third on the depth chart. These guys all got solid ass playing time in the past 2 seasons. So you've got a lot of depth there. Bringing in Jermaine Johnson, huge. And Marcus Cushney backing him up, coming in as well. Huge. Dennis Briggs Jr. getting the start at defensive tackle. Nice. And then Fabian Lovett taking over the starting position, perhaps, for Robert Cooper, who Robert Cooper was pretty much the guy last year. So, that's a pretty big statement to me that Fabian has been outplaying Robert Cooper, especially after last season and him coming in, obviously, from Mississippi State. So, I think that goes a long way to tell you that we are pretty damn deep on that defensive line right now. Do we need to pick it up in recruiting on that end? Absolutely. But I am extremely optimistic, I think is the best word for our defensive line. Is there work to be done? Absolutely. We need to see it in person 100%. But I am very optimistic moving forward with our defensive end position. Or our defensive line position, not just defensive end, excuse me.
Yeah, you worded it a lot better than me. The group's very good. It's just aside from Jermaine Johnson, there's not that guy that pops out at me like he's going to be really good. I really like that kid. There's a lot to be determined. There's a lot of guys that you can put out there that can make plays.
Exactly. And then probably my least favorite position to talk about right now. And there's a lot to go off of, but that's going to be our linebackers. And I'll let you take this because I got a lot to say.
Not great. It's not great. Recruiting's not been good there. Feel like we're a little undersized in some players that starting on the line. Love Amari Gainer. I really do. I think he's actually a very good linebacker, but I don't really have much faith in our linebackers to be able to drop back into coverage. I think Notre Dame's tight end is going to absolutely abuse them. But we'll see. There's a lot to improve upon the linebackers.
More. I don't know what you're talking about here, buddy. But he's not going to get us right. I'm sorry. He's not the guy. He can bring the energy and fire like Amari Gainer was talking about in his press conference or whatever else. That's fine and dandy. But if you're not getting the job done from not only a coaching standpoint, but from a recruiting standpoint, which hasn't happened, that's going to become a problem. And knowing how our linebackers, when we've played at a championship level, played at or were, this has no comparison. It's not. You're not bringing in these guys. These guys aren't it. Like, they're not it. I'm sorry. I love Amari Gainer. Amari Gainer is the one guy you could probably rely on the most out of this whole linebacking group. Starting DJ Lundy over Steven Dix Jr., he had to have shown a lot in camp to be able to start over Steven Dix Jr. We'll see what he's going to be able to do. And then, also you got Kalen DeLoach. I just look at these guys and I look at their bodies and I'm like, you're heavy. How are you? I think my biggest concern, it's not going to become when it comes to the run game. These guys are going to be able to fill holes and stop the run game. Like their grandma's going to die and they have to stop him. They're going to be able to do that with absolute zero thought. But when it comes to the pass game is where it really concerns me. what's going to happen when these guys are expected to be in coverage? You know, like these guys are big, hefty guys, don't necessarily move as fast. What the hell is going on? You know, Kalen DeLoach, DJ Lundy, like Steven Dix Jr. even, excuse me, not going to necessarily be able to cover guys in coverage. And then we look at the Notre Dame game, which we'll get to. Notre Dame's got the best tight end in the country. They're going to gash us over the middle consistently with this man. And it just scares me when it comes to the passing game. When it comes to the run game, I'm not as scared, you know, because they can fill those holes. They can come up there and pop a guy in the hole or pop a guy outside as long as they don't get burned. But it's a very big concern. Chris Marv has not done anything to make me think that he's a good football coach at this point, especially when it comes to recruiting. When it comes to recruiting, you haven't done shit. When it comes to being a coach on the field, last year showed me a lot because every time that we got burned, it was down the middle of the field. So it doesn't do anything for me. You know, like this linebacker group doesn't do anything. Looking at the backups, Cortez Andrews and Green McKnight as the backups for the other two, and Kalen DeLoach and Amari Gaynor absolutely don't do anything for me either. So I'm just very concerned. What are we doing in the linebacker room? Why are we just living off of hype? And a guy who is a hype man. Ultimately, you want to look at Vic a couple years ago, our weightlifting guy who just fucking pumped up the crowd back in 2013, 2014, 2015 until he got his DUI and was gone. I mean, like that, what else does he do? You know, like what else are you doing on the field besides hyping players up and shit? So get on your shit, Chris Marv. I'll call you out here right now. It's fine. I hope you're watching, but you're probably not. You got better things to do. Hopefully you're doing those things, but we'll see in the future. But moving on here to the next set of players, we've got our secondary here at the nickel. We got Jamie Robinson at corner, Travis Jay at the other corner, Jarvis Brownlee at the buck safety position, Brandon Gant, and full safety Akeem Dent. A lot of depth here too. Shaheem Brown being the third guy there at the buck behind Sidney Williams, Renardo Green backing up the full safety, and then Miko Dodson backing up one corner, and Jarian Jones backing up the corner, which is probably not a hard thing to find when it comes to Florida State is finding DBs.
Yeah, I mean, we've always had that depth. We just haven't always been able to, translate it to the field. You have the talent, you have the depth. Hopefully this year we're going to actually be able to translate it to making plays. Maybe a lot less dropped interceptions, really what I'm hoping for. I really like Akeem Dent's switch to free safety. I felt like when he was at corner, he was always a step behind. I think that also was due to his injury. But he was getting burned a lot, which I didn't like. But I think putting him at safety, I think he's going to be able to make some good plays. I really like putting Travis Jay at corner, just an athletic freak. I mean, he's the closest thing to Derwin James we've seen in a prospect in a while, I think, just with his size and athleticism and playmaking abilities. So I think putting him at corner, one of the hardest positions to play in football, I think basically just switching him and Dent is going to be really big for us. Especially in I like how Travis Jay is over Jarian Jones. He didn't impress me last year. Hopefully he turns that around this year, but I was just not impressed by the way he played last year. And then Brownlee, I'm excited for him. That kid's going to be a stud. He's got the potential to be a first rounder. I may jinx, I don't really know, but I think he's a dog. He's a guy he makes plays consistently. He's kind of like the guy he's the cornerback that you want on your team. And I also think Shaheem Brown is going to get a lot of burn. He's been making a lot of plays in practice. If you're watching this, when I tweeted at you, it wasn't at you, it was at Coach Fuller. I don't think you stink. I think Coach Fuller stinks. I think we got that resolved.
Yeah, absolutely. Thomas came in here, asked a quick question. Are you concerned about the youth of the secondary at all?
I mean, not really. I mean, you're playing your best guys at this point. You're seeing, there's not really any guys that are like older that have experience that should be playing over these guys. But I think usually you'd be concerned about youth, but I also think that all these guys have at least played 1 year. They're all redshirts, so they've got a little bit of experience under their belt. And I also think that they have the talent and athleticism to be able to be, guys that can come in and play right away. So that's the one position that I'm not worried about youth at all.
Right. It kind of reminds me a bit when I was talking about the offensive line position. A lot of the guys that are backups right now are guys who have gotten burned in the past or guys who have had played in the past. I mean, you look at Miko Dodson from one of the cornerback positions. He's going to be backing up Brownlee, and he's a redshirt senior. He led the nation in interceptions at FAU 1 year. So he's going to be able to teach these guys a lot. You know, whether it's the best teaching or not, it's still teaching. These guys are still getting good information to them. And if you remember, Travis J, Keem Dent, all came out big guys, you know, highly touted, and they're just starting to hit their craft right now. They're super young. This is probably going to be the start of their peaks, if you will, in my opinion. So I'm very excited to see what they do. Shaheem Brown, like you mentioned, Ben, is a guy that's been really showing out in practice here lately. So I expect him to get some burn as well. But I go back to who you mentioned earlier in terms of Jarvis Brownlee Jr. This man looked the part last year, right? Looked the part last year. Made a couple good plays, but he had a few plays where you were like, dude, come on. Like you're getting letting a guy open over the middle of the field. I think he's going to correct that this year. And I think he's going to come out balling. You look at the type of player he is, 5'11", 181, not big, but he's tall, he's lengthy, and he's going to be good. You know, he's not necessarily the size of Jalen Ramsey or anything like that, but the dog mentality that he brings to that defense is going to be huge to a secondary that absolutely needs it, because that's Florida State. You know, it's Florida State secondary. You need to have a dog in there. I mean, you look at all the past corners that we've had for years. You need a dog back there to be able to solidify that defense. And whether it's Derwin James, Jalen Ramsey, Terrell Buckley, Deion Sanders, you need a guy back there who's going to, you know, tell the rest of them, this is what we do. Y'all lock down your side. I'll lock down my side. Once the ball is thrown my way, I'm going to make a play. And if I make a play, y'all are going to get, you know, I don't even know. Y'all are going to get confidence off of that and be able to build on your game as well. And it's just going to be a whole thing that just resonates throughout the whole secondary. I'm very, 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 very optimistic about our secondary moving forward. Not concerned about the youth at all moving forward. Got a little comments in here. Yep. Like I was saying before, Derwin, Jalen, James Charles, always coming in here, those guys. So another Ben coming here. James Charles, whatever. I think this FSU team will shock everyone and destroy Notre Dame. That's a big statement there from Ben B. Really appreciate you coming in there and say that. A lot of us might think I have a better bet on Florida State winning the game than necessarily covering the spread. You know, I think Florida State has a better opportunity to win the game outright than they do of covering the spread. That's a big thing. So really, really like that. But very, very excited about our secondary moving forward. And then we'll just go quickly into our specialist and return team. Anything that really shocks you here?
Our kickers suck. They're not good. They're not
plain and simple. Plain and simple. They're not good. Ryan Fitzgerald, Parker Grotehouse, not anything to be excited about. I don't know if either of them can make a kick over 45 yards. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. But Alex Mastromano, the kid from Australia, probably a great punter. He's going to do what he's going to do. When it comes to returners, anything shock you there?
No, you got the right guys. Playmakers, athletes. They'll make a play. They'll I almost wanted to say our first touchdown will be a kick return touchdown, but that's a little bold, so I'm not going to go there. But I think you'll see Corey Wren. You're going to see Corey Wren house one at least once this year. That's one of my predictions. Corey Wren's going to house one this year.
Kid's probably one of the fastest guys in the NCAA. Probably doesn't get enough love for it. But if you guys know Corey Wren or have paid attention to Corey Wren, kid has some burners on him, much like Bobo Wilson was back in 2013. One of those type of guys who you're just going to see back there and be able to bust plays if need be.
Yeah, he ran a 4.31, so the kid's fast. He's who you want returning kicks.
Yeah, definitely. And before we get going, who are your breakout guys? Who are your breakout guys here on this depth chart, or somebody who's not on the depth chart that you could see moving up?
Well, I definitely think Shaheem Brown's going to move up throughout the year for sure. I don't know if I'll call him a breakout yet, but I think he's got the potential to break out. Helton's my big guy. Everyone's like, he hasn't really been good in the past. You know, he's kind of small. He didn't do great last year. He's been hurt. I think the talent's there a lot. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people this year. So that's really my big breakout guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna join you on the Shaheem Brown train. Big fan of his and what he's been able to do up to this point. But at the wide receiver position, I want everybody to take a look at Malik McClain, number 11 there on the offensive side of the ball at wide receiver. a huge guy who's just going to be able to produce for us at 6'4", 201. A guy that can go up and get the ball, especially in the red zone. That's really what we're looking for, being able to score in the red zone. It's been kind of a bad thing for Florida State football recently to be able to score in the red zone. We've been able to make good plays, big plays, but we haven't necessarily been as efficient in the red zone. That's something that I look forward to this year with him and Joshua Burrell, but specifically Malik McClain, what he's been able to do. Oh, Josh Griffith's breaking.
Oh, I wish we could tell you. I wish we could tell you.
Can't even talk about that right now. There's a lot of rumors floating around. We don't want to spit it out until it comes out fully. If you guys haven't been paying attention to that, it's a very interesting thing that has been going on with the Josh Griffith situation. But those are our breakout players. And with that being said, Ben, let's go ahead and move into our next segment here, man. And that's going to be this week's game against Notre Dame. So I'll let you go ahead and lead it off. Talk about anything. Talk about what we're looking at when it comes to Notre Dame, how we match up, just, all the good shit that we got going on heading into this game where we can, utilize our talent versus theirs, where they can possibly beat us.
Well, the first thing is I'm very confident in our first offensive drive. We always have that great scripted drive. I had a Miami fan tell me last year after we went down and scored 7-0, like, oh, wow. He's like, nah, don't worry. They always have a good first drive on the scripted plays. So after our scripted drive, it's kind of up in the air. I don't really know much about Notre Dame. I don't think anyone does. They've lost a lot of guys. They have the best tight end in the country. I think that's going to be a problem over the middle. And I especially think you pair that with a little bit of play action from Tyree and Kyron Williams. That's going to be a little bit scary as well, especially considering I'm not the highest on our D-line either. So I don't think they're going to have any issues moving the ball with us. I think it's going to have to be a lot.
So just real quick, I'm going to interject. We going over and looking at our linebacker situation, and then obviously their tight end, Michael Mayer, who absolutely tore it up in college football last year. And was kind of, nobody really gave him a whole lot of praise or anything for what he did. And then being able to see him take that next step this year, and then going up against us in our linebacker group in the first game of the season, do you expect him to have a huge game?
I mean, yeah, I think that's the general consensus. I think the offense is going to run through him because Jack Cohn is not talented. He's not a good quarterback, but you don't have to be a good quarterback to hit a guy who's wide open in the middle. You don't have to be a good quarterback to hand it off to two of the best running backs in the country. He's a guy that's able to beat us. He's not going to make special plays, but he's going to be able to hand it off, and they're just going to little dinks and dunks, ground and pound, time off the clock. I think they're not going to have any issues moving the ball. So I think we're going to have to kind of, hopefully not, but I think we're going to see more of a bend, don't break mentality. They're going to definitely get into the red zone a lot, and we're just going to have to hold them to a lot of field goals if we want to win the game.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch quick on that tight end position, but go ahead with your talk on the first half and then the second half.
First half, I think it's going to be competitive. I've said it before. I'm concerned about the staff's ability to make second half adjustments. I didn't see it at all last year. We saw versus UNC, we went up 31-0 or 31-7, and we won 31-28. I was like, it's just not good adjustments. There are no adjustments in the Miami game. There were times when it looks like whenever we would make a competitive first half, and it looks like our opponents would make adjustments and scheme around us. We would come out trying to do the exact same thing and just get absolutely shut down. So I'm a little worried about that aspect, but I think we have the staff to do it. I'm curious to see how they do it this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You mentioned Kyron Williams and Chris Tyree. I'm scared of them a little bit. We were talking about being able to shut down the run game and from the linebacker position especially, and then we said the weakness was the pass game. But I'm still kind of nervous if these guys get outside. What's going to happen? They're both really good damn running backs, like you mentioned. Specifically, Kyron Williams really lights the world on fire with what he's able to do from that position. But I think their biggest question mark comes from the quarterback position. From Jack Cohn, a transfer coming over from, I think, was it Wisconsin? Mm-hmm. Coming over from Wisconsin, lost his job to Mertz, I believe. So that's going to be a real interesting thing. And I think the whole game ultimately hinges on him from the offensive standpoint of things. You've got a whole new offensive line pretty much. I think you're replacing 4 out of your 5 starters on the offensive line. One of them is going to be a freshman left tackle, which bodes well for us. So what are your thoughts on Jack Coan and what's going to be able to happen with him? How do you think he's going to be able to perform, not only him, but the offensive line too as a whole, coming into a pretty much sold out Doak Campbell Stadium up to this point where we're expecting 85,000? And what are you expecting from them and how they're going to be able to perform under the lights and the sound of Doak?
I mean, it's Notre Dame. They replace those guys like Alabama replaces 5 stars. I have no worry. If I'm a Notre Dame fan, I'm not worried one bit about the O-line, especially with Cade Madden coming in. That one hurt a lot when they jumped in, but good business decision by him. I think Coan could get it done at Wisconsin where you just have to hand it off and throw little dinks and dunks, so that's promising. I think you put them under some pressure early, get them rattled, especially in that atmosphere. That's going to bode well. So I want to see a lot of blitzes. I want to see a lot of pressure, just getting his head a little bit. And I think we have a pretty good chance to keep it at least a very competitive game for the whole game.
Yeah, that's why I think that we have probably if this game was in week 6, I think we talked about it last week. If this game was in week 6 of the year, it would be a question who would probably win the game. But considering it's week 1 in Tallahassee, a night game, and the crowd's going to be pretty much sold out, I think we have the best chance because of those reasons, because it's a new offensive line, because there's a new quarterback at the helm, because they're having to replace an offensive lineman with a freshman guy that they weren't expecting to. The fact that they're missing their linebacker, who's going to miss probably the majority of the season, maybe not the playoffs. I think that's going to, work in our favor, if you will. And we'll get to the defense here in a second. I don't know a whole lot about them, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But I think this is our best shot to get a win that we shouldn't win. Everybody's got Notre Dame. Everybody wants Notre Dame or has Notre Dame in the college football playoff. So it's interesting to me that happens, especially if they lose this first game of the year against us. Not saying that we go out and beat them, but like I said before, I do believe that we have a better shot to win this game in the first game of the year than the 6th game of the year. And we have a better chance of winning right out or straight out, instead of covering the spread. I think we have a better chance of just winning instead of losing by 7 or less. Ultimately, that. I think that's the case when it comes to this game. But before we get into Christian's, our other co-host, he's at work right now, so he's just being able to comment in here while we're live. He's not able to be live. Let's look at their defense a little bit. They did lose their leader and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from the linebacker position. But what do you look at when it comes to the defense? Do you have any guys that really stand out to you? If there's anything that really stands out to me for them, it's their secondary. They're bringing back a lot of guys, so that's going to be a tough task for us.
I don't know. Their defense doesn't really scare me. I mean, we've seen what they do against talented offenses in the past, just showing up in big games and playoffs. They tend to just kind of get torched and get passed around pretty easily. We saw DJ from Clemson. I'm not saying Jordan Travis or McKenzie Milton is DJ, but Notre Dame won that game, but he put up 400 yards in the air, and then they were having their way on the ground too. So they're not some formidable Georgia defense that you're going to be scared of. You're going to be able to score on them if you just make smart offensive plays and call a good game plan. So they don't really scare me on that aspect. I'd be more concerned, like you said, about their tight ends and their running backs. I'm more worried about stopping them than their defense stopping us.
Which I completely agree with, because we were able to put points up on Notre Dame last year. Not necessarily the points that we would have wanted to, but we were still able to score on them. We were still able to put up in points in the 20s, which is not bad. But you need to be better than that when it comes to that side of the ball. And the loss of their leader, like I said before, is huge. Not only that, but they run a 3 deep front. They don't run fours. They run 3 deep, maybe bring 2 linebackers, whatever the case may be. We're going to have to deal with that blitz. I hope we're ready for that blitz. That's the only thing that concerns me, because Brian Kelly is going to bring those guys, and it's not going to be a surprise when it does happen. But I think ultimately when it comes to this game, it's going to be who can score last.
Yeah, I agree with that. Going back on the blitz topic, that's why you have Jordan Travis out there. He can get through it, get past the blitz, dodge a couple tacklers, and make a play downfield or run for 15, 20 yards if he needs to. And I think it's going to free up a lot of opportunities for a deep ball to Helton or McLean or Parchment. So the blitz is a bad thing, but it could also be a good thing for us, especially if we run Jordan Travis out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this whole game is going to come down to offensive performance. If we perform better, we'll do better. If not offensive performance, it'll be who can get a stop. So I guess it technically comes down to defensive performance at the end. But ultimately, it's who can score more, who's going to be able to do it. I expect a high scoring game, probably somewhere in the 60s, maybe even 70s. But we'll ask some not so, X's and O's questions here. And Christian, our other co-host, came in here and said, let's hear some uniform predictions for this weekend. You got any for us?
I don't know. I feel like we're going to go traditional. But it wouldn't surprise me to see all red. I could see us pack the Garnet Pants. That's going to be my prediction. A little out there, but I think I'm going to go pack the Garnet Pants, especially because it's a big recruiting weekend. Gotta put on for the recruits.
Pack the Garnet Pants. I'm going traditional as well. I think traditional is just the way to go. Home opener. No need to build up any more hype than there already is around it. We saw what happened fucking last time that shit happened, and it did not go. Yeah, I was there too. Crowd was rocking. Everything was rocking except for the team, and that's the last thing I fucking want to happen. So run out the traditional shit. Let's just do it the way we're supposed to do it and move on from there. Have you heard anything on this Najee guy who jumped over in the what the hell is that about? Have you heard anything about that?
That's I don't know. He's just making a joke. It was last year in the playoffs when Najee just straight up hurdled that guy.
Okay. Gotcha. So I don't even need to put that up. I don't even know why I put that shit the hell up. But with that being said, let's get into our playoff predictions, bro. We went over the game a little bit. We'll be back on Saturday morning, guys, for a little show we have called the Shampoo Effect. If you don't know what the Shampoo Effect is, go research it. Go look it up on Google. You'll know why it's exactly called the Shampoo Effect. It'll be a fun little show that me, myself, Ben, and Christian, and maybe a special guest or two will appear on. We'll go over all the game slates for that day, also going into a little bit of preview if you're not able to catch it tonight. So it'll be fun stuff. But right now, Ben, let's go ahead and go into our college football playoff predictions, brother.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and just put Christian's out there since he's not here. He his semis, I'm pretty sure he had Ohio State beating one of Oregon or Bama, and then he had Oklahoma beating one of Oregon or Bama. And then he had Ohio State over Oklahoma for the Natty. I want to hear yours because I haven't heard yours yet.
All right. So, yeah, I've been trying to keep it down low. But I'm going to have – a lot of people might hate me for this. I'm going to have Georgia. I'm going to have Texas A&M. I'm going to have Oklahoma. And I'm going to have Cincinnati.
Wow. So who's beating who? I
did them in order. So I got Georgia, Texas A&M as the 1, 2, and then Oklahoma and Cincinnati. So we'll have Georgia going up against Cincinnati, and we'll have Texas A&M going up against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's making sure it's what I had. So in that first game, Cincinnati and Georgia. I think it'll be a lot closer game than a lot of people expect. But I think, ultimately Georgia wins that one, and that'll be nice. I think on the other side of things, I think this is the year that Jimbo gets it done. He finally gets over that hump, beats Alabama in the regular season, and they play an Oklahoma team with Spencer Rattler, which will be very fun to watch. A Texas A&M team versus Spencer Rattler. I think Spencer Rattler will be too much for a Texas A&M team that is not ready for a player of that caliber because they're so used to seeing a particular style of offense. I think it's going to be Georgia, Oklahoma in the national championship game. And I think finally, after all these years, Georgia finally wins their national championship game.
I like it. I wasn't high on Georgia going into the year, but I'm starting to build hype for them. But I ended up having My semis, I'm going to have Alabama playing Ohio State, and I'm going to have Oklahoma playing Georgia. And I think Alabama handles Ohio State. Big Bryce Young guy here. I think he's going to be really good. And I think Oklahoma finally gets their playoff win. But that's going to be it for him. I'm not going to bet against Nick Saban with probably the most talented quarterback he's ever had. I got Alabama repeating, and hopefully he'll win me some money too. That was my bet for future. So
It's always good to make some money off of it too. I'm a big proponent of Bryce Young, but I just think with the talent that Texas A&M is bringing back, when it comes to specifically that game in the regular season between those two teams, the talent that Texas A&M is bringing back, other than their quarterback position, I think they end up getting it done, especially since Jimbo is a quarterback whisperer, as we have seen and have experienced as Florida State fans. We know he can do it. So it's not going to be a question to me if he can get it done, especially with the talent that he's going to be able to have around him, no matter who the quarterback is for him. So did we know who Christian had in the championship game or not?
he had Ohio State beating Oklahoma.
Oh, Ohio State going in and winning it all. Wow, that's interesting. We'll get his thoughts later on Saturday in case we were wrong, since he wasn't able to make it. So those are our playoff predictions, and probably one of our favorite things of the night to do, guys. Scared money, don't make no damn money. And these are going to be our locks of the week. And we'll start off with Christian since he's not here again. And go ahead, Ben, let us know what Christian said for his locks of the week for this week.
Yeah, at NC State covering 18 points against USF, so NC State minus 18. Which I have that one of my parlays. I like it. Good. My pick was, I don't know. I found this. I don't know if Vegas knows something we don't, but I got UNC minus 5.5 at Virginia Tech. I don't think Virginia Tech is very good. I'm not going to bet against Sam Howell. I think Matt Brown's a better coach. There's nothing special about Virginia Tech. Expect maybe their atmosphere. So I'm just like, I'm not really worried about that. I wouldn't be surprised if UNC won that by like 21 points or 28 points.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Thomas, obviously, can't get my words right, agrees with you as well. And for my lock of the week, I'm going to go over to the University of Louisiana Lafayette in Texas game. And I'm not going to pick a side here, but I'm going to go with the over 58. I think this game is a pretty much lock for going over 58 points. I think each team scores 30. I really like what University of Louisiana Lafayette is being able to do here in the past season or two. I really like their head coach. And then Texas, Texas always able to put up points, can't stop anybody from scoring. So that'll be good as well. So I really like that over 58. I'm surprised it's not in the 60s for that game. That's going to be a 3:30 kickoff, I believe, for that Texas University of Louisiana Lafayette game. If you guys haven't been paying attention to the University of Louisiana Lafayette, you fucking better, because they are a good damn team. They bring back everybody on their team pretty much. So it'll be an exciting game to watch. And don't be afraid to take them on the money line if you don't believe Texas is back.
Yeah, I was about to say it. I was like, I'm not going to, but it's not a bad value bet. Parlay it with a couple other underdogs. Maybe throw us in there. You're getting plus 250 both ways. Probably 10 to win, 50. Something slight. Probably not going to happen, but good value for you.
Yeah, you never know. So it'll be interesting. And like we said before, if you guys tune into our Saturday show, we'll be going over the whole slate of games on Saturday, and as well as our game on Sunday, which is in the Monday game between Louisville and Ole Miss. So if you guys tune into that show on Monday called The Shampoo Effect, it'll be fun as well. And then we have a couple questions on thoughts. Thomas, as well as Ben B, coming in here saying thoughts on Wisconsin -6.
I don't know. I was looking at that game. I really wanted like an under of like 58 or something, because I don't think it's going to be high scoring, but they have it at like 49, so I wouldn't touch that. I don't know. It's at Wisconsin. I think Graham Mertz is good, so Sean Clifford is not bad. It's gonna be a close one. So like obviously you don't want to have anyone winning by more than 2 scores. It's gonna kind of it's going to be like the opposite of our game. It's going to be a very low scoring defensive battle, in my opinion. And it's going to be whoever can score last. So I think someone's going to win by 3. I would take PSU +6, or I would take Wisconsin money on if I was betting between those two.
Yeah, so I've got it at -5.5 right now. So if it stays at -5.5, I would take Wisconsin. You know, that touchdown. You know, those two field goals maybe. I love Graham Mertz. I think he's a hell of a quarterback. I think he can get it done. He's got 2 wide receivers that decided to come back for this year. So I really liked him. But the 6 scares me a little bit. I don't necessarily like pushing it past that point when it comes to betting on games. But it's going to be a hell of a game. Penn State's got some shit to figure out after they didn't have too good of a season last year, but they ended well. So that's something that you have to pay attention to as well. So it'll be an interesting game there for a noon game, especially. It'll be a really fun one to tune into this Saturday at noon. But with that being said, Ben, I think that does it for us tonight, man. I enjoyed it. We had a lot of great conversation. We're gonna have even greater conversation come this Saturday. So you guys be sure to tune in. But anything else you want to tell the people before we go ahead and log off?
I don't really have anything. I'm looking forward to the games this weekend. Football season's fucking back, baby.
Yeah, I'm fucking pumped, dude. I'm gonna be going out. I'll be in Orlando on Friday night and Saturday, so I'll be doing the show from Orlando on Saturday morning. So I'm gonna be going out once I'm there Friday night. I'm gonna be having a good time, so I'll wake up nice and toasty. For all the people out there wanting to tune in, I think we're gonna have a couple of special guests on, maybe. It'll be very fun to talk to them. I think one of them is gonna be a Florida fan, aka my father. So if you guys want to see what my dad's like, he's really big asshole, really pompous type dude. So it'll be very interesting to see. So we can have a Gator fan on here, probably tell us how much we're going to get smacked by Notre Dame, and then we can just all talk shit to him. So that'll be fun as well. And all you Alabama fans can join in and talk shit to him too, which he'll enjoy a lot. He'll just sit there and not say anything, but nah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, guys, we appreciate you for tuning in. To Tribeaholics, man. We appreciate you guys. This is our second show together. We're going to keep crushing it throughout the season and then into the off season after that. But Ben, thank you again, my brother, for being one of my co-hosts, and we'll see you guys on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Go Noles, baby.